media not to be interested in what is going on in our country, because the media had fought the battle before, and the entire country is also watching what the media role will be at this critical time in the history of our country. And so I want to plead with the media, whether presently here or outside this conference hall, to now take personal interest in the affairs of the country. They fought for this democracy. The media was partners with the Democrats. They must be partner. If not, we may not have the country where all of us will live in. Ladies and gentlemen, my text of address today is that Buhari declares state of emergency on security, Nigeria collapsing under your watch. Gentlemen of the press, you recall that I addressed you here in April on the worsening security situation in their country. Then female international aid worker was killed in Kaduna State amidst the endless bloodletting across the country. Between April and now, the security situation in the country has gone from bad to worse, forcing concerned patriotic leaders to voice out alarmingly to President Muhammadu Buhari that the nation is collapsing under his watch. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, in a timely tirade to the President on Monday, raised all the issue and properly situated the security position in the country. He went further to highlight the implications of the current state of the nation and where we are headed if urgent steps are not taken. As the national chairman of the main opposition party, I cannot agree less with the former president when he said, among other things, I quote, "The main issue, if I may dare say, is poor management or mismanagement of diversity, which, on the other hand, is one of our greatest and most important assets. As a result, very onerous cloud is gathering, and a reign of destruction, violence, disaster, and disunity can only be the outcome. Nothing should be taken for granted. The clock is ticking with the cacophony of dissatisfaction and disaffection everywhere in and outside the country." Unquote. Before Obasanjo's letter, the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, I think is now retired, Cardinal John Onyeko, had warned the president of what he called the cloud of destabilization hovering around the country. Also, the country's only Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, had to declare that the problem of Nigeria has gone beyond President Buhari, and I quote from him, "The problem of this nation are beyond the solution that can be offered by this government." That's the first admission. They have to stop thinking in partisan government. There is a minimal level which any government which has been elected to power must achieve to be considered a true representative of the people. Look at what is happening today with cattle all over the place. That's a security issue which should never have reached this level if we have a leader, unquote. Respected elder statesman, former governor of Kaduna State, Balarabe Musa, also joined his voice to those compatriots to urge Nigerians not to be afraid to tell the government the truth that they have failed woefully. And I quote from him, "This government of Buhari is the worst in the history of Nigeria. Every patriotic Nigerian should come out and talk to Buhari and save the country from war," unquote. The PDP wholeheartedly associates itself with the position of these patriotic Nigerians and urge President Buhari to respond appropriately and timely by declaring state of emergency on security in the country and go further urgently to address the issue raised in Obasanjo's letter. There is no doubt that the only thing apparent in President Buhari and APC administration is incompetence. And this is clearly underscored in the way and manner they are handling the affairs of governance, which has continued to take a huge toll on our nation. The level of bloodletting occasioned by the barrage of criminalities across the country can only be happening in a country without government. The killing of Mrs. Funke Olakurin, daughter of Pa Ruben Fasholati, leader of the Yoruba Social Cultural Organization, Afenefere, is the high point of murdering of innocent Nigerians across the land. It certainly cannot be well for a nation that creates an ugly situation where a 94-year-old nationalist will be burying our 58-year-old daughter. This is sad. There is a thick cloud of sorrow across our nation. This is certainly not Nigeria of our dream. Thanks for giving me this audience. Thank you, and God bless every one of you. That we will continue to be in difficulties. A lot of injustices is going on in our country. And you know, one injustice begat another injustice. And so it's a continuation of several of these injustices on our land. And so Obasanjo has spoken well. He has spoken like a statesman, a former president of our country, a leader of our country. Those who are saying anything contrary are just mere distraction. It is not political. It is security of life and property. So it's not political.
Maybe you want to align with what he also said specifically.
I have already addressed the issue on the content of my address today. It's gone from bad to worse. So it cannot be less. He's speaking also the truth, like Obasanjo. My reaction is very simple. We should not underplay the situation that is going on in our country, and we should not trivialize it. And that's the answer I will give, because killing and bloodletting is happening everywhere across the country, and people have seen it. So we should not trivialize it. Yes?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Leon Zidra
if there is government, there will be no. In other words, the government itself has collapsed. And if it's a foreign land, the president should resign. But unfortunately, we're in Africa, where people will fail and they will continue to be in office. Yes?
My name is Friday, I'm a reporter with Chance TV.
Sir, are you calling for exactly?
I believe that far more than that, you know what is going on in the country. When we say state of emergency on security, it means that the president himself should move with his service chiefs. They should move to the street and the scenes of where these things are happening, and probably draw up a new security architecture, because the one he's currently operating has failed. That's a state of emergency. The president cannot sit in a comfortable office in the villa anymore, where innocent Nigerians are being killed.
Gentlemen, the last question.
Is there in my statement he has failed? So the honorable part is that he should resign and allow other people who can do the job. Yes, yeah. Yeah. Yes.
The last question, please.
You know, when it concerns the very learned person, it's difficult to, but let me just go straight to answer your question. The vice president is a Nigerian. The vice president, a few days ago, visited Pa Ruben. These things are happening. These things are happening. And you know the media, you know the truth. So I think that this is overwhelming, what is going on in the country. Very different from a statement in the United States. So everybody is touched, all the zones, all the states. People are being killed indiscriminately. So I believe that he knows the truth, and the only thing that can save this nation is the truth.